Right, please stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you all for coming. Prior to the meeting from 6:30 to 7:30, we had an executive session to discuss potential litigation and land acquisition. And also note, just in case there's anybody out there, because we know there's a lot of attention on it today. We are investigating the plane that was flying pretty low up by 611. If anyone has that questions, my family personally saw it. I got videos of it. I got a grab of the registration of the plane. We are currently tracking it down to see what it was doing, who hired them, if it's allowed, all those things. It just happened this afternoon, so we don't have any more information than that, but we do have the registration of the plane and we are tracking it down, and we'll give updates once we get some information on it. Emergency services. I don't see any for today. Announcements. The second annual truck and treat at Tinicum Park. The Parks and Recreation Board annual trunk or treat is scheduled for Saturday, October 28th. The rain date is the 29th. If you are interested in volunteering, please contact Tinicum Township admin offices to be put in touch with the Park and Rec board or email. And also, you don't have to be part of a Park and Recs committee to help out with that event. There'll also be a senior expo hosted by Representative Shelby Labs on Friday, October 6th at the Penridge Community Center at 146 East Main Street, Berkshire. For more information, you could go to repshelbylabs.net. And then wetland mini grant planting. The date was postponed to Saturday, October 7th at 9:30 due to the inclement weather that we had. On to old business, headquarters road bridge update.
Actually, on the wetlands project, we are still looking for a couple more volunteers. So if anyone is feeling energetic and is interested in coming out to do some planting on Saturday morning, please send an email to eac@tinicumbucks.org.
Oh, well, that's
Right.
keep the recorder away. I did. All right. We're going to switch around a little bit. Instead of going to old business, we do have a conditional use to do tonight. So we will move to that so we can get some people on their way. The conditional use is application CU 2023-3. And this is about 27 Swamp Creek Road, Irwina, tax map parcel 44006-095. You got Steve?
Anybody here? No?
I am the owner of 27.
Okay, you're on.
I'm Rob Bowie. I'm working with April and
Why
Yeah.
don't, why don't you raise your right hand and be sworn?
I will.
Should they come forward to?
Yeah, Rob, did you come up here?
Yeah. Bring my fly.
You want them both sworn?
Please.
We both please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Can you please state your name for the record? Please don't forget. Thank you.
Rob Bowie.
Can you spell your last name, please?
BOWIE.
I-E. Thank you.
Well, since we're also well prepared, this involves a property where a septic system was installed without a township permit, and it was installed although there was a Department of Health permit.
Correct.
And it was installed in an area that encroaches in the rear yard setback, which is in violation of section 123.3C of the sewage management ordinance, and also so it to be located in the rear yard setback, it requires a conditional use from the sewage management ordinance, as well as a conditional use from section 808 of the zoning ordinance to put a replacement system, in a, non-complying setback, which requires proof that there's no other location on the property, which is, suitable, for the, system, which I understand in this case is a drip micro mound, system, and that it serves, the existing three-bedroom dwelling, located on an acre and a half property, located in the RA zoning district. Do I have it correct so far? The town, the application for a conditional use was submitted, and with the application is a plan prepared by Bucksmont Inspections, Inc., which is Bob. So why don't you explain to us why the system had to be put in the location where it is?
Sure. So, Elsie Pear was the previous owner, and she had an existing septic system in place. It failed a real estate transaction, so then I was called in to help basically find a new septic system on the property. There was a well located in the backyard that's shown on the plan, and that takes up, obviously we have to be 100 feet from that well for a new septic system. The house is situated in the middle of the lot, and then on the, I guess it would be east side of April's house, the neighboring well arc takes up a lot of portions of where we could possibly put a new system. So the neighboring well arc takes out a lot of our available area. So essentially, the only place on the property is above the existing septic system already in place. Because the soils there were somewhat marginally drained, we couldn't fit a conventional sand mount type system or any type of shorter alternate type system. The limiting zones were between 10 and 20 inches. So the only choice we had in the smallest footprint would be as Steve was saying, the alternate American drip mail. And unfortunately, even for a 3-bedroom house, those systems are still 100 feet long. So we couldn't really stay off the back setback of the property line. We had to infringe on it somewhat just to fit it in the allowable area. And if to move it away from the back of the property, we would have gotten to steeper slopes, and also we would have started infringing on the neighbor as well. So we were kind of fixed right at that spot right there, while maintaining 10 feet from the house, a distance from the existing system, and the steep slope. So we're sort of boxed right in that area.
Okay. Now, the township engineer reviewed the application, and initially noted what I said at the beginning about conditional use approval, and the second thing that he noted is a drip micromound sewage system is a type of alternate on-lot sewage system, which requires establishment of an operation and maintenance agreement and the posting of financial security. And I believe that has been, I prepared it, but I believe it's been signed and submitted with the appropriate escrows. Is that correct? And now, the third thing he says is buffer vegetation must be proposed between the micromound and the rear property line in accordance with applicable requirements of sewage management ordinance section 123.3 C2. Now there is also submitted together with the plan of the system, which I'm going to mark as applicants A1. There's a second, what appears to be a tax map, parcel map, which is A2, and Vanna White's holding it up. Okay, and do I understand that there is an existing tree and brush cover around the property perimeter, which serves as a buffer of the system.
There's some multi-floor rose bushes there, there's a couple maple, I think even a couple small diameter chestnut trees. but- Yeah, yeah, so to me, it's definitely a good visual buffer to the back, and even the lower property also. And the back property is actually, per the plan, up further, where there's actually a lot more trees on the one side of the property. Where the neighboring house is.
And, four is, it's our understanding that tank access and site grading modifications are required to divert stormwater runoff around the system. Upon completion of construction, all disturbed areas must be immediately stabilized by fine grading, seeding, and mulching with straw. Now, this thing's already been installed.
Correct.
What can you tell us about
Well,
the stormwater?
we brought in another contractor, the Muse Brothers, to actually clean up the property a little bit more and, provided some final grading, seed and straw and whatnot, to which the health department, Bucks County, was out a couple weeks ago, and they actually signed off on the entire system as far as the grading and whatnot. So it met their satisfaction. Jeanette Anderson, who's Tinicum Township, SCO, she signed off on it. I don't know if she forwarded it yet to the township.
She would have forwarded it to Mark, I don't know if she forwarded it yet, though.
Do you have an extra copy?
Is this extra, April?
If it's needed.
Yeah, I can always get another copy from Jeanette. Yeah,
Oh, that'd be-
sure. These are 3 copies.
Okay, we'll call that exhibit A3. Is there any thing else that you wish to bring to the board's attention?
There's no backup area that we could have done. I don't, not off the top of my head, Tinicum still requires a backup area. I think that was
just changed them.
yeah.
The previously for newer construction, that was the case, that we have since changed that.
Okay, so,
recently.
we couldn't obviously get a backup area. There's no area we could even put there for a backup.
Is there anybody else in attendance? Can you, we got a copy. Yeah. Okay. Does the board have any questions of the applicant or her engineer?
I do not.
I have 2 quick questions. So for the buffer along the rear property line, if you were to ever decide to remove some of the plants that you have there now, would you replace them with something else that is equally a screen?
Sure, I would actually, my intention is to add to that buffer.
Okay.
Like for more privacy, 1, and 2, there was I think in the whole process of putting it in, there was a little trauma that was done to the ground, to the soil, and, just to be able to add and reconstruct that.
Okay, and then as to number 4 on our engineer's letter with regard to the grading, seeding and mulching, has it been seeded and mulched?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
We've been able to mow.
Okay,
over the
so it's
entire
already
system,
growing.
Already growing.
Reestablished.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, that's all.
Yeah, and in the installation and maintenance agreement, it requires buffer planting, and it requires it to be maintained, so that, and if there's dead or dying buffer planting, it must be reported and repaired in consultation with the township, the health department, and the DEP.
Great,
So
thank you.
we've got that covered. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to be heard on this conditional use application? I see no one. Then as, looking at the township engineer's letter, number one is just simply telling us that, we need a conditional use. Number two is the requirement of an operation and maintenance agreement. Three is the buffer planning. And four is the stabilization, which has already occurred. So if the board is of a mind to grant the conditional use application to permit the micro mound system to be installed within the rear yard setback, in compliance with section 123.3C of the sewage management ordinance and section 808 of the zoning ordinance, it would be conditioned upon the applicant submitting a installation and maintenance agreement together with the appropriate escrows, which she's already done, and that she continued to maintain the vegetation buffer between the micro mound and the rear property line, and that she pays all outstanding township costs in connection with the conditional use application. Are those conditions agreeable to you?
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks.
That's all from me.
That's all for the. I know you wanted to stay around.
Thank you. Thank you for thinking of me.
Okay. All right, we will move back now to old business. Number one is Headquarters Road Bridge update. We did not get the report that we were waiting for. We have been told that we should have it early next week, and we'll have an update at the next meeting.
October 17th.
Next item would be real estate tax penalty waiver request from Keith and Louise Logisi. If I have that in my pocket.
It's right here, Jim.
Okay. So if everyone remembers, this was related to our 2022 tax issues that we had with our tax collector. And we have put in a process where if anyone had an issue with their taxes and needed to submit something, I believe that the county was requesting that the individuals submit something saying that the township was okay with it. We had put a process for a form letter for any individual to come in, fill out the form letter with a reason that they were requesting tax relief because of the issues that we had, and that the township would then review it, and if deemed approved, forward it on to the county.
So I need a motion from you.
And in this case, it looks like we have someone who did not receive their taxes, which was a reoccurring issue that we heard from multiples of people throughout last year. And so reading through this, I would make a motion to approve to send this on to the county.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Cryptocurrency ordinance status. Section numbers must be amended to reflect the newly published. Is this back from?
Yeah, the planning commission had some comments, which I just received.
Okay.
Board has been Paris, that was again, very recently, I don't know if you've had a chance to address them yet, but this is, Stephen, my correction, it's already in review with the Bucks County Planning Commission.
It's already in review with the Bucks County Planning Commission. I got the planning commission's comments. And just very quickly, the planning commission noted that, when I drafted the ordinance, I removed the definition of building from the ordinance, and that's because this is an amendment to the zoning ordinance, and the building is already, a building is already defined in the ordinance, so that we didn't need to repeat the definition of a building, and likewise, the enforcement mechanism was taken out of the ordinance because again, this is an amendment to the existing zoning ordinance, and there's already an enforcement notice. There's already an enforcement mechanism in the zoning hearing board rather than the zoning ordinance, so it doesn't have to be repeated. And finally, you don't have to say the cryptocurrency shall be reviewed as a conditional use, because the amendment to the sections make it a conditional use, and so that didn't have to be repeated. And then I corrected the section numbers because I was working off the existing ordinance instead of what we just have as a brand new ordinance. So I made all those corrections, and that's the explanation for the omissions that the planning commission noted. And now we're just going to wait for the Bucks County Planning Commission's review, and once that's received, we'll bring it back onto the agenda.
Okay.
So in the PC minutes, there's a request to include, the term data center. So
no.
is that in the version that the BCPC is reviewing?
That's a question I was gonna ask Steve.
Um,
Their recommendation was to include data centers.
Just received that.
oh,
So that
that
might be-
wasn't in that wasn't in the amendments that was submitted to me, so that's the first I've seen that. So
That's
the answer that
I just sent today, that's why I didn't know, Steve.
Okay,
the short answer is no, it's not in the but yeah, I can certainly make that revision and send it off to the Bucks County Planning Commission.
I mean, it's
because
just, it's
we've
different
amended.
use, but similar.
right.
Okay, I can accomplish that.
All right, moving on to, our zoning, ordinance codification is effective as of October 1st. We have a codified zoning ordinance, and I don't know if anyone looking for,
Beautiful.
if anyone's looking for an easier way to read through our zoning ordinances, we now have it. We are still currently working through getting this digitized, and once that process is complete with unknown schedule at this point, because it is a little bit involved. The ultimate goal will be able to get this on the website that would be updated yearly with any ordinances that are passed or changed throughout the year. So it would be constantly updated every year, whereas we're not having to constantly reference ordinance to ordinance to ordinance as we pass ones, throughout time. So bring us all into a little bit in line with 21st century, just a little bit.
I don't know if I see it period, but thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
Awesome job, Scott.
really. We have one member here of the PC. Yeah,
It was all those guys.
really, it was a tremendous lift.
So yeah, very long project's been going on for at least 5.5 years. So a lot of work went into combining all of that and cleaning up all that language and getting it very concise and getting us to a nice book that we can now actually read through logically. All right,
Okay.
on to subdivision ordinance amendment. I guess in this case, we want to approve Steve to draft an ordinance based on the PC comments from their most recent meeting related to the subdivision ordinance. I guess I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
My only suggestion is that I saw the language tonight is to include land development plans in addition to subdivision, because township shouldn't be approving either of them if they need variances to be developed. So
Yeah.
I'll prepare it, and then of course it'll be resubmitted
To the PC and
to the PC
and the BC.
and Bucks County PC for another view. So the board, the planning commission will get a chance to look at it.
All right. And then, last on old business is, the Iden, agricultural security, resolution. And this is for, ag security on, the Iden property. Was discussed last meeting and then, put on hold based on, some questions about land use and, the RC district. And we've been informed by the landowner that they're going to be doing, cropping, and not animal husbandry as their main use for the reasoning for the agricultural district, and that is, a permitted use in the RC district. So based on that, I would make a motion to, approve.
Second. Do I have to say
Or
something?
that you're approving us moving
To
forward with
advertise.
the advertising.
You make that, you're making that motion to move forward to advertise.
Correct.
A
Yes.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And will that will be on the next meeting for approval? Or the,
We have to approve for 15 days to comment and then planning commission.
Come on in November.
yeah, so just as a note, we don't have a meeting, the first, in the beginning of November, because of the election. So this will probably end up on the second meeting, or
Most
opening
likely
meeting
that's
in
how it will
November.
work out, yes.
which is at the end of the month. On to new business, resolution 1003231.01, supporting the Lower Delaware River Management Plan.
And I believe Dr. Marty Kite is here, if you want her to speak about it.
Yep.
Do you want?
You prepared words, but I know you know all about this.
Marty,
Well, it'd be
can you
good for
come up?
everyone else to hear it, but you have to come up and stand at the mic. Yep.
No, you have to go up there.
Have to go to the microphone.
Yeah, very formal then.
I'm allowed to sit?
Yes.
Thanks.
No, mommy's over there.
Okay, I'm Dr. Marion Kine, Tinicum resident, and I am the vice chair of the Lower Delaware Wild and Scenic River Steering Committee. Two of our creeks in Tinicum Township already belong to the Wild and Scenic Rivers group. They were included in the very first resolution that went to Congress and was passed in 2000. And that's the Tinicum Creek and the Tohickon Creek from the dam down. The committee is hoping to add more small tributaries to the wild and scenic system. And so we're going around from township to township and getting permission from the board and a resolution from the board to study the possibility of including other streams. The only other one that is available of any size in Tinicum is Swamp Creek Roaring Rock Swamp, if you start from the top. It does not flow directly into the river. It flows through the swamp into the canal, which flows into the river very, very near the head of the, not head, the mouth of the creek. We have gotten permission or word from the person who manages the entire East Coast Wild and Scenic system for us from the government, that it would be eligible. That was our first hurdle. The second hurdle is that we have to have the Board of Supervisors say, yeah, we'd like you to study it. The advantages of belonging to the system are if there is ever a project that it has any sort of government funding, such as a new large bridge or something like that, which is not likely along this creek. The government has a right we have a right to step in and say something about such a project. It is the Wild and Scenic is managed by the communities along it, both the Jersey side and the Pennsylvania side. Every community has a representative. Every community has a right to come to our quarterly meetings. There is a steering committee that does the monthly business. But there are quarterly meetings, and any of you could come if you were interested. We try to have an interesting speaker at each meeting. It's not always possible, and sometimes they're not very interesting. We're being honest here. But you can all be a part of it. We have commented on things like the tea table project that New Jersey DOT wanted to do. We have, the steering committee has a certain amount of money. It's been $25,000 for the last couple of years to give for small projects, which are, we go over the applications very, very carefully, and we always get more applications than we can award. I have personally gotten 5 of those for the township. Bob Stanfield got a couple when he was here. We have gotten a couple in the last couple of years because Eleanor has been involved and the EAC has been involved. One of which is the planting that we're doing on Saturday. And one of which was the rainbow workshop. There are absolutely no downsides. The government cannot take your property. The government cannot step in and tell you what to do. It's a community thing. It does not overseed, what's the word? Not overseed. It does not interfere with our township laws. Township laws still govern any, I don't know, planning or zoning or, well, anything. The government makes no laws about the wild and scenic. It's advisory and it gives us money. And that's the best part of it. The other good thing is what has happened over the years since 2000 is that the New Jersey side of the river and the Pennsylvania side of the river have started to talk to each other. I mean, this is a common resource. We have had some difficulties with certain vendors in the past, and they could get around having all of the proper requirements that they should have had and licenses and so forth, because they could say, well, New Jersey said we could do it, and then turn around and say, well, Pennsylvania said we could do it. But now we have good communication, and that's a real good advantage. The money is good. The projects that are eligible, we can give up to $5,000 per project. Bank stabilizations and riparian plantings are big. We've done other things. We had an art project one year, which was very different from anything we've done before, but there were a lot of kids involved, and that is always a good thing. So what I'm asking the board to do tonight, if they're willing, is to pass a resolution that gives us reason to study whether we can add Swamp Creek to the wild and scenic. And then it too would be eligible for such things as riparian plantings, and I know a couple of spots that could use it. And clean up if that's necessary, or I don't know, but anything we can dream of that meets the goals of the plan. There is a management plan, and it has 6 major goals. I can read them to you if you want, or you probably know them. Would you like to hear them? Do you want them on the record?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Maintain and improve water quality up and down the whole section, which runs from basically Easton down to Washington Crossing. Preserve and protect the river's outstanding natural resources. Preserve and protect the cultural resources and the community's landscapes. Encourage recreational use in a sustainable fashion. During COVID, you may have noticed there were an awful lot of people out on that river, and we think perhaps some of that is not sustainable. Encourage sustainable development. There is one of our goals is not to interfere with business, because tourism is really important in this area. So we're all for that. And preserve open space in such a way as to maximize the health of the river and the river community. Those are the 6 goals.
Well, thank you, Marty. Based on all that, we have some comments from the public. Yeah, please. I guess, Marty, you have to share the mic.
Yeah,
Share the
sorry. Anita Nolan, resident. Jesse and Vlad Solomon have in the past brought up their concerns about creeks being cleaned out, of big trees and things like that. Would this be something that could be done on the applicable creeks? Like, could it pay for some of that?
If there were a proposal written and applied for a mini grant,
Mhm.
yes, it would go through our process.
Okay.
We have a grading process.
Yeah.
Um, So yes, such a thing would be eligible.
Mhm.
All right, I will make a, sure.
Catherine Auerbach, Center Road. The question is, consideration being given for the Little Tinicum Creek. I don't know if that is currently within the defined areas of the Tinicum
The
Creek,
little Tinicum is
Is it?
a tributary to the Tinicum.
so then it automatically gets included?
I believe so. Anything, I've never done a project on the little Tinicum, but
Yeah, okay, I wasn't clear
no,
on
it's
that.
part of it.
Okay, good, that's good, thank you.
Anybody else? Comment? Based on that, I would make a motion to pass resolution 100323.01. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Marty,
Thank you,
thank
Marty.
you. Thank you.
Be thinking of a great project for next year.
I know, and I can need an idea. We'll write that together.
I didn't want to interrupt my speech. Wanted her mom.
All right, moving on to the next item, is a pickleball request. Yes, we have a resident that wants authorization to allow pickleball markers to be placed on the existing tennis courts at Fourbrooks.
So Terry, could you give us a little bit more of the backstory here? What this group has already been doing there? And
So we-
conversations they've had.
So we have some pickleball players in the township. Apparently pickleball is becoming more popular. And they've been using the existing court down at Fourbrooks, the existing tennis court. As of now, I haven't heard of any problems with any overlap. But what they've been doing is they've been going down there, and these poor people, when they want to play pickleball, they chalk the lines, which is all fine and dandy for a couple days until it rains. And then they have to lay it all out and chalk the lines again. So they have asked, they came to a park and rec meeting, as we directed them to, and they've asked for permission to paint some more permanent lines so they don't have to keep drawing on lines every time they play pickleball. The requester doesn't know if you would want him to do it if you were to so entertain this, or have Public Works do it if you were more comfortable with that. The lines would be painted thinner and in a different color than tennis, so as not to confuse a tennis player. And of course, if any kind of lines were going to be painted, it would have to be the proper non-slip paint, etc. And because we've had I've not had any complaints about pickleball, but we've had some people, and we've seen in other townships that there's some noise problems. He asked that if you did not want to consider giving him authorization to do this on the existing court, that you would even give him authorization for a year to revisit it if you had problems. He did speak with Park and Rec, and the Park and Rec chairperson, I was present, Terry Johnson. He said he thought there would be, there should be no issue on his side that he could think of with having what's already existing there be a multi-use. And the pickleball player, because I guess they understand that it's a bit noisy, has actually already reached out to the adjacent neighbor who has no issue with it. So.
I mean, I think it's great that we're finding some other uses for the park there. I mean, it's a park. There's basketball courts, there's tennis courts, and why there'd be any concern over noise, but yeah, I think if the group would want to donate their labor and get the material, I think as long as maybe Doug could give some recommendations for the paint to get for them, and then also maybe could just do it in conjunction with the, with
Would you
the
like-
crew being out there.
Would you like me to have a public works employee?
Yeah,
um,
I think that would be,
And have them let me know what kind of paint they're gonna use so that Doug can look at type of paint as well?
yeah, I mean, I don't see any issue.
We
with
just want to
that.
make sure it's non-slip paint.
Yes, yes.
I guess, is there any comment from the public? For that? Glad to hear that some, people are using
Yes.
in the park. I guess do we have to make a motion on that, or that's just sort of?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to, allow the pickleball group to, paint pickleball lines on the tennis court with supervision by the township and recommendations on paint or approval of paint.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next on the list is operation and maintenance agreement for 35 rope walk. All right, this is for a drip irrigation system, tax map 4415-235.
This application is for an existing property. It was purchased. Septic system was a problem. This is an alternative system and requires, before we can issue permits, requires the construction and operation and maintenance escrow agreements. The property owner has brought in the escrow and signed and notarized agreements. And so now it's just for you, the board, to approve. The township solicitor prepared the agreements.
It would require a motion to approve the operation and maintenance agreement and authorize the board to sign it.
So are they replacing or repairing their system?
Yeah, it's a
What is it?
replacement system for repair. It's not new construction.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to approve the operation and maintenance agreement.
I'll second that. Discussion? Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. On to regular business, minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the September 19th, 2023 meeting minutes as written. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The treasurer's report and budget recap up on the bulletin board, and we have them in our packet. I'll make a motion to approve payroll for the period ending September 22nd in the amount of $35,859.16.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Distributions, take a moment to review.
Terry, the Keystone Municipal Services, Inc., there's two bills, one for 3,800 and the other for 46. What are the dates? Are they,
They're
2
2-week
months?
periods and
oh, it's 2 week apart.
each bill is for 2 weeks, so yeah.
Just as clarification, the payment of $200 to me is for,
Oh, yes, there's payment for Jim Helms. We found out that we don't need to charge for an ag security application, but Mr. Helms, he offered not to take the refund, but it's only fair to treat him like the resident that he is and give him this refund.
I'll make a motion to.
One more question, Jim.
oh, okay.
Terry, on the fire relief, the payment in the amount of 18,441 is made to Ottsville Fire Company
That's
Relief
correct.
Association. Is that what is now Palisades Regional Fire and Rescue?
It is, however, the state is not done with the paperwork, and so it required me to give it to the Ottsville treasurer of the Ottsville Relief,
Okay,
just because the state is not finished with their merger paperwork.
got it. Thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve distributions as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No updates from Public Works. I know we did have, there was some questions on, Cannon, I was gonna say Ridge Valley Road, but that's it. On Cannon, I know there's some reports of the new material being sort of slick after the rain. I know it sounded like we had, both the chief out there and Doug multiple times, and what
And
did we come up with?
Supervisor Rosemary as well.
Rich?
It was slippery.
Mhm.
It wasn't tacky, it was slippery.
Yeah, so
So,
Marty called us. Doug went out, he said it was soft and tacky. Rich went right out and agreed that it was slippery. had Doug go out. He actually re-rolled the surface on Friday before he left. And I didn't get right back to Marty because it was just too crazy
Well,
busy
nobody
here.
asked Marty about
but-
this here.
Well, I'm just gonna report to you what we did about it and then Marty can talk too. I was gonna ask her on the way out if it was any better. However, it's because the material was put down and it was too wet to put down, so it was mixed with mud. So Public Works came back in on Saturday and put more dry material down to help solve that problem. The grant will cover the overtime, so no worries, anybody that saw Public Works out there. And hopefully the situation's better and Marty has promised to keep in touch with me.
You had to drive down the road to get here, I'm assuming. How
How was it? How was it, Marty?
It's better. I'm sort of reserving judgment until after the next rain.
Hmm.
It seemed as if the ponds that they used to filter down between the rocks.
I think she's correct.
um,
I think it was mostly
stayed,
fine.
And they're like mud almost.
Well, I guess we'll have to see how the material, it's a good, we'll see what the dry does to it, some driving on it with dry weather, and then, definitely get a report back to us after the next rain, which should be the end of this week, and we'll see what we end up with.
Marty, you even have my home, so you can call me. You need to.
Terry, can you just speak to the October 1st deadline?
Oh, yeah, sorry. So part of the problem is normally we would delay finishing this project in the weather that we had last week. However, there is the Bucks County Conservation District, and as you all know, these dirt and gravel road projects are approved by grants through them. We cannot lay the DSA, excuse me, after October 1st. Even though it's aggregate and it's not paving, it's almost the same rule as the paving. And so Public Works was forced to get that down, even though it would be something that normally we would not do in that weather. We have never had this issue before with any of our dirt and gravel projects. So it was surprising, but we understand that it's also scary. And our police went out there and closed the road and double checked for us. But Marty, I'm sorry you even had the one day.
May I say something?
I guess maybe.
But maybe you should come up.
Yeah,
Do I need to take BB again so she doesn't cry?
Go see Terry. Come on. No, I'm not going, she says.
She's like, I want to stay with mom. She was gone too long.
At the microphone.
yeah.
Please.
I want to comment about the way the prep work was done. It was fabulous. The guys did a wonderful job. They have made drains off of the sides of the road. I could do without the red and white signs, but we had one heavy rain before they put the aggregate or whatever you call that stuff down. When they had just done the drains, they lined them with red rock, so it looks like it really belongs there. They're actually attractive. And there wasn't a drop of water on the road after that heavy rain. We had that 2-inch rain and it was wonderful. Then they put down the aggregate and it wasn't so good. But the prep work was super, really super. That's all I want to say.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we have used this material, both on Municipal Road right here, which is a pretty steep road, and on,
My road.
on your road, on Stagecoach Road.
On multiple roads
Which
throughout the years. This is
Stagecoach
the
doesn't have
first
as much
time.
of a slope
Doesn't have
at the
much.
moment.
What's the other one? Is it Rope Walk? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess Municipal having probably the closest slope to Tancannon. Yeah, hopefully that material dries out and does what it's supposed to with the sieves mixing with
Well,
the.
and the other disappointing thing is that we did have our final inspection and it was approved. The same day that Marty drove it. So, it was just quite surprising to have this happen. But, and I'm sorry that we couldn't get dealt with until Saturday morning, but, well, actually, I guess that's pretty quick, but still, need to hear from you after this rain, even if it's Saturday.
Who does the testing on the materials to make sure they're in compliance with what the DSA is supposed to be?
The Bucks County Conservation
So
District.
they actually have somebody out there testing the materials?
As far as I,
well?
yes.
Okay.
Doug
'Cause it
manages the
looked- it
project.
appeared
but-
to me that it was had more fines in it than normally.
I think what happens, and just from experience with other things, not that I'm Doug and I have I'm not overriding anybody's technical anything. But what happens is you have a pile of stone, and if they're digging out of the top or the sides where it all fell down, it's all one way, and then what settled down to the bottom is different. And sometimes I think these piles of aggregate, when they're dumped in a truck, don't get mixed up enough, and I think that may be partially what happened here. I don't know. It happened in my driveway. It's one.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it and.
Not with the township material, however.
What? No, no, no. No, stone that we purchased at home. Yes.
Yep. So hopefully we'll keep an eye on it. If there's any issues, obviously Doug will address them as we go forward.
Absolutely.
On to, we already did G, so we're on to zoning hearing board application ZHB 2023-7, Salzo and Smith. Tonight we have to make a decision to send Steve to the meeting with a position or not. This property is on 140 Mount Airy Road, and the applicant requests relief to allow a 6-foot fence previously installed without a permit in the front yard setback where the maximum height of a 4-foot fence is permitted.
The PC's recommendation is highlighted in their minutes for you, as well as their recommendation sheet.
They recommend not opposing. Is that
Right.
correct?
They recommend remaining neutral, yes.
The applicant is here, I'm Dan Line. The applicant.
Oh, okay.
Applicant here.
Right at the moment, I think you're ahead.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
I guess by recommendation of the PC, I would recommend that we follow their suit, and this would be a zoning hearing board issue to decide.
And you will not send me.
Correct.
And it seems to largely be because when you purchased the property in 2004, you put the 6-foot fence in, and that predated the ordinance that prohibited a 6-foot stockade fence in the front. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the ordinance was in 2004, but the ordinance section that the zoning officer flagged as violation was introduced in 2005. So it was introduced, that specific zoning section was introduced after the original fence.
Okay, and the fence that is in there now is a replacement of the original fence that predated the ordinance. With the exception of 30 feet that is 37 feet off the road.
Yeah, it was the extension of the fence that I think flagged it.
Okay.
I'm good with us.
So you made a motion to
Well,
not,
there's
not to oppose.
Well, there's no motion, so it's just
Okay.
making no action, taking no action.
Okay.
No, okay. Good luck at the zoning hearing board.
Thank you. Good night.
All right, on to zoning hearing board application ZHB 2023-5, Mark Calloway. Again, our decision tonight is to send Steve or not to make a position. This property is on 120 or 1,247 River Road, tax map parcel 44009004. And the applicant requests relief to construct a pole barn in the setbacks and floodplain. I guess is the applicant here for this one? No?
Again, the PC's recommendation is
Neutral.
Neutral.
Was this the property, Terry, where we had previously received information that I see in the PC's minutes that they indicate that the application is in compliance with the ordinances, but have they always had that opinion, or
No.
did they at some
this
point
is,
think that it was not?
And I think the board was aware of some correspondence. There was kind of a debate between how the ordinance was interpreted. So our ordinance allows you, if you have a structure in the setback, a non-conforming structure in the setback, you can increase the size of it in that setback 50%. This increase in the size of the building is, I don't know, approximately 5 times the size of the original building that's in the setback. So Mark's interpretation of the ordinance is that this is an undersized lot already in the district it's in. The building's non-conforming, and he saying that you can only extend 50% along the setback, and the rest of your addition on the building has to come more within your property instead of, I forget how many feet. This is pretty close to the property line. The planning commission's view on this was that there's another section in the ordinance that says, if the lot is narrow, there's this calculation you do on setbacks that it would allow a building of that size as close as, not that this would be, that 12 feet on the property line. So there's 2 sections of the ordinance. And Mark felt that, 12 feet he's relying on, and I can't put numbers, never been zoning, but I think it's 1107. Steve, do you know?
I thought it was 1103, but.
Okay, maybe it's 1103. And then the planning commission's looking at like a section 900.3, I think. So there's still some disagreement. The zoning officer went back, reread, and he stands by his memo, and the PC stands by their opinion.
So then the question is, do we want Steve or Mark to appear on behalf of the township at the zoning hearing board to emphasize their position? 1107, is that correct? Is that my interpretation?
That's all you have to decide is if you want representation to oppose or set conditions or to defend. I mean, it's up to you.
Well, Steve, what are your thoughts there? Can those sections of the ordinance be reconciled? Or do you know
I
which one
happen to
controls?
think that the planning commission's right.
Okay.
However, the zoning officer made his decision. The attorney for Callaway has written and said he's going to amend the application to appeal the decision of the zoning officer, which I think is procedurally the appropriate thing to do. And, I think that the zoning hearing board can figure it out.
And you think that the PC's interpretation is accurate because this is an undersized lot?
Section 900.03 provides that side yards shall aggregate at least 40% of the total lot width or meet normal requirements of the district in which the lot is located, but in no case shall either side yard be less than 12 feet. The side yard is 14 feet, and the side yards aggregate more than 40% of the total width. So I think that the specific controls. On the other hand, I think, and this I think predates you, we had a situation where somebody was going to put up a great big pole bar, and that was within 25 feet of the side yard, and the neighbors went berserk. So I think this is an appropriate. The zoning hearing board's made his decision, and let the zoning hearing board hear the testimony. If some neighbor is concerned because this building is going to be 14 feet off the property line, they can appear at the zoning hearing board, make their position known, and the zoning hearing board will make a decision.
But it's your feeling, your opinion that 900.03
Controls.
Thank you.
I guess I'd make a recommendation. We'll not send Steve, we'll let the zoning hearing board clear this one on their own.
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay.
You didn't need a motion, but
We'll just,
Oh,
thanks.
no need to go.
Thanks anyway.
Now let's see, we've got a withdrawal of a zoning hearing board application ZHB 2023-02 Giordano. That has been, withdrawn, and our last,
Just to be clear on that though, if you'll notice it was on the agenda, because people do keep asking for updates about this one. We received an email from the applicant that she's withdrawing, but her attorney has not responded to the emails of our request for a formal withdrawal letter as of yet.
Okay.
So it's just a caveat there.
okay, I guess, based on that procedural, Steve, if the applicant themselves, is there any formal procedure to do that?
Yeah,
Was the
there
email-
could be, we should get, township should get something in writing,
Okay.
whether it's from Mrs. Giordano or Ms. Giordano or the lawyer, that they're withdrawing the application.
Now,
When was it scheduled to be? this?
Right.
Oh, it's,
Clock issue.
the hearing isn't scheduled until November the 9th,
Okay.
so we've got
So-
time to get that
We have
done,
one more.
Yeah.
Yes, otherwise I would be asking for that.
yes.
so currently we still have it on the schedule until we get the formal.
That's.
I'm going to leave that on the agenda until I get the formal letter because we may need to make that decision prior to,
Okay.
if you're gonna need to send, I think that one might be our zoning officer, our solicitor and our engineer, if you were to decide to send any.
Yeah, that one's a little different.
And then just one last update, zoning hearing board applications, ZHB 2023-4, Perret and Schmick, at 13 Lily Valley Road. The zoning hearing board, was on 9/28, and it was granted with conditions. On to public comment session.
Diane Allison, Irvin Road. I appreciate Supervisor Helms that the township is looking into the situation that occurred today on Hollow Horn Road, but I just have a few things that I want to add to the record about it. I also took pictures and got the identification on the plane, called the Doylestown Airport, who informed me that it was a crop duster and that they were indeed crop dusting because she could tell by the patterns that the
Yeah,
plane was
They
flying.
went by a bunch of times. really
Yes,
well.
right. So let me first say, I am definitely not anti-agriculture. I have a degree from Delaware Valley College of Science and Agriculture, now Delaware Valley University, and buy locally agricultural products as much as I can here in Bucks County. So definitely not anti-agriculture. I'm also a resident here for 45 years, and I know that the agricultural district allows for normal agricultural practices and acts to protect them. But I wonder about how normal this was, because I've been here for 45 years. That piece of land has been farmed that entire time and never experienced anything like this. And while I think the plane aspect is going to be deemed appropriate, I mean, I don't think the driver of the plane, the flyer of the plane, the pilot was doing anything wrong. And I think we're going to find that that's the case. My complaint is that I have an expectation that a farmer should be a good neighbor. And I feel like crop dusting such a small parcel and without warning to the neighbors or informing them as to what's falling from the sky on their property. And since it is such a small parcel, by plane, it does not and did not remain on the property. It was going outside of the property, whatever it was that they were spraying. The plane was flying, because it's such a small area, was flying very low over homes, and you know, there's homes all the way around this piece of property, and they were all being basically strafed by this plane at a very low altitude. This is not South Dakota with huge open areas of property to do something like this. And like I said, in 45 years, I haven't seen it done. There's also a part in the ag security district specifications that does leave openings for things that are public health or danger to the public. And I feel like this certainly qualified as that. There was substance being rained down, and we don't know what it was, without informing people so that themselves, their children, their pets, their livestock were all exposed to whatever it was without us even knowing what it was. So I feel like we need notification of this type of thing and the material safety data sheets that go along with whatever was being spewed around today. And that we also should be given time to request relief if it's something that really we feel is dangerous to the community to have distributed. So just wanted to get that opinion on the record. But
Yep.
I appreciate you looking into it
Yes,
because
thank you.
I think it needs to be looked into.
Yeah, I actually thought it looked like a crop duster initially, as we were a little bit over and said, it can't be that. There's no way they're crop dusting that field. And that is what it turned out to be.
My husband was out and actually tasted it when he drove
Yeah.
by. So
Can you,
it wasn't just
sorry,
me.
Diane, can you describe what it was that you saw, like, falling around you?
The plane doing, well, I did not have something fall around me, but others I have had heard things coming down. And like I said, Dave went up to Kimberton and on his way by, he said he could taste it. They were doing it then. And he wasn't on the property, obviously. So, in fact, he was on Oak Road, which is fairly separated from the portion of the field that they were dusting.
Yeah, it's on the same topic. Sorensen resident. So I also witnessed this today. And I did the same thing. I mean, because it was quite alarming. And I was thinking about you, Jim, because I'm up over the hill from you and it looked right there, but they were actually doing the turns at my house. And so I have various videos of that. And even the turns that they were doing, you can understand why if they come down over the field that they might have to be at a low elevation. But I don't know if they can hear me, they were actually, I mean, I have photographs, so there were 50, 60 feet above the house doing their turns, and I'm up over a mile away. I don't know why they wouldn't come up in some elevation, do their turns, and then come down. It was really quite something. I looked up on FlightAware, got the tail number thing. I looked it up. I saw the registrations in Georgia, crop duster. I figured out that's what it was. And for my research, the only reason why you'd be crop dusting corn at this time of year is to desiccate it, which is essentially to kill it early, which means glyphosate essentially, because what they're trying to do in a warm late season is to kill off the crop because it's still growing, but the corn is mature at this point. So they want to kill it so that it dries out so they can get a harvest in before it gets moldy and things like that. So hopefully that's not what it was, but that's not a great thing to be spraying, in an exceptional value watershed with residential, and the same thing, I could taste it as well. I mean, it was in the air because of the breeze, it was blowing. So, kind of alarming. I mean, again, same thing. I'm a huge advocate of agriculture. It just seems that for a 20-acre field, if that, it's that mechanism of
The proximity of the houses
Right,
to the
yeah.
field, just the plane can't control
right.
the drop,
Yeah.
whereas you could in a larger
Yeah.
field.
So, I appreciate also any sort of, investigation we could do so that, again, notification neighbors and things like that. And it would be nice to know what actually was sprayed.
I don't know a lot about this. Anita Nolan, resident. But it seems to me that corn and soybeans are grown so that they aren't affected by glyphosate, by Roundup. So how would that kill the corn if the corn has been grown, the seed is Roundup ready? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe not glyphosate itself, but some other type of herbicide that
Okay,
essentially,
okay,
affects the.
that's
Yeah.
my point.
Yeah.
So, Steve, who are these crop dusters? Are they permitted? Who authorizes them?
I can safely say, in the numerous years I've been doing this, I have never been faced with and now, first of all, I don't know that they were crop dusting at all. I don't know what they were spraying, what they weren't spraying. Terry found out where they were trying to get the information. I assume there is a set of regulations by the FAA and or the Department of Agriculture about this, but you know, we learned about this like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I tried to call the company, and, you know, got one of these, our voicemail is full and cannot accept any more, things. Terry has sent them a couple of emails trying to find out exactly what they were, spraying, depositing, whatever it is. So we're gonna look into it.
While
and-
also reaching out to
Property.
the property owner.
Yeah.
So already started all that. I actually don't want to report the half knowledge that I have, because I don't want to lead anybody down a path.
No, but those
But-
are all the things that we're
Yes,
currently
I-
going on
and-
every avenue
yes.
to try to find out
Yeah.
who and what the
I know
regulations
I
are
reached
for it.
the right company, because they did respond to me, although not answering any of my questions, but I know I received the right company. So I actually feel like, being that this is the first time in my adult career, not only here, but anywhere, to deal with this, at least I found out who did it. So we'll go forward.
And on the topic, I have received questions from a resident who had concerned neighbors about a similar plane flying low. I mean, similar meaning just a plane flying low above the crops on a field by River Road. So I think it's not isolated to that one area off of Irvin.
And also this year,
It was this summer. Yeah.
this summer, not recently, not in the last couple.
I don't know if they're contacting me every time they see it.
It's been so wet, like, is that the reason why?
Yeah, I don't-
Okay, just so this isn't about corn. It is not a property that I've ever seen corn on. I did find out that they were doing a property on Oak Grove, Frankenfield area. They were not doing a property on Oak Grove west of your house.
It was on the property that was part of Rick Pat's.
Yes, that's the property. It was not Hollowell, so I've never seen corn on Rick Pat's.
Yeah, corn on there now.
I must be oblivious.
It's back a little bit, so it's not, the corn doesn't come right up the hollow corn, but it's back, it goes all the way back up behind there too. We're trying to get the whole.
Well, again, we don't know what it was. We will find out what it was, and we will definitely research and find out what the regulations are for this, because it does not seem reasonable that the area at which that was being done is, again, the houses are surrounding, it's impossible to control, what needs to be controlled on a drop. Yep. Marty?
That should not be adding anything straight into.
So as we get updates, we will let everybody know.
Cindy Gaspari. While we're on the subject of pesticides, I brought to the attention of the EAC at our last monthly meeting that I saw 2 trucks on River Road spraying along the guardrail between Bridge 2 and Bridge 3. And we have tried to get to the bottom of what those pesticides were. They were spraying the weeds, which are now dead, which is right next to the canal.
Was it a PennDOT vehicle?
I don't know what kind of vehicle it was because I was driving at the same time. When one of our members contacted PennDOT, they said it was a third party and they didn't know what they were spraying, which kind of surprises me that PennDOT would just hire somebody and say, go and spray the weeds.
Because
They were hired by PennDOT, is that
Yes.
correct?
But PennDOT is not responding to us, so we definitely need the support of the
Yeah.
board.
I mean, we have had PennDOT in the past has usually let us know, or at least that request has let us know what they were using to do road maintenance, vegetation clearing.
Yes, the last request was a couple years ago, but I'm happy to reach out. Cindy, would you mind, because it's been an awful day with crop dusting and meeting, would you mind sending me an email tickler tomorrow, and I'm happy to reach out to them for you?
Sure, yeah.
We-
We're concerned for the waterways.
Mm-hmm.
They can get weed whackers out there and accomplish the same, if they're concerned about visibility on the shoulder.
They
And I can-
probably won't do that, and I'm gonna tell you where this went before, and it's not that I'm being negative, I'll reach out and ask. They have a vegetation management agreement that the property owner would have to sign, the property that come up to the right of way, be it that DCNR or private property. And the property owner has to agree to maintain the right of way, and then they will take it off the,
Pesticide trees.
thank you, Rich, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
send me an email, thanks.
Any other comments? I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting
Thank you.
You're not adjourning.
Oh, continuing because of the budget,
Oh, right, are we doing that?
the continuance of the budget.
Oh, okay, take that back. We I will make a motion to continue the meeting till Thursday at 4 o'clock, for initial budget discussions.
Second.
Yes.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Continued,
Thank you.
pause.